Hi, and welcome to this week's Freedom Phrase. Freedom phrases are a few words that I string together, and they're created to help you think differently. The intention is for you to use these phrases in a time where you feel like you could use a shift in perspective. They help you think more generatively, more creatively, expansively, and therefore feeling freer. So this week's freedom phrase is check it out. Check it out. And I say that because as people living in the world with other people, there are so many times when we misunderstand another person we're talking to, or another person's body language, or another person's gesture, something that we find them doing when there are no words. And when we misunderstand, or sometimes we're misunderstood, but when we do that, there's a communication breakdown. It amazes me that communication is ever actually right because, we're each using our own filters, to make meaning out of things. But one way to overcome the unique filters that we have for making sense out of things and making meaning out of things, one way to overcome a communication breakdown or a communication gap is by checking it out. So you'll want to use this at home, at work, friends, family, coworkers, bosses, people that work for you. You'll want to use this one. Check it out. So check it out means that when someone says something or someone does something and you start to make meaning, you start to think of, thoughts about something, that instead of just jumping to conclusions and getting angry or feeling insecure or feeling frustrated, that you actually check it out. So for example, I had a client who had a death in the family, and it was a distant relative, but she decided she was going to go last minute. She was going to decide the day before that she was going to go to the funeral and be there for the rest of her family members. And so she wore a suit to work that day. Now, she was the chief operating officer, and it was a pretty casual work environment. Nobody wears suits to work. So she comes in that day, she wears her suit, and people are looking at her and saying, wow, you're dressed up. She doesn't say anything. And at lunchtime, she leaves. She goes out to lunch. And she still has not said anything. So people start to think things, right? And these thoughts then, if thought over a long period of time could start to become beliefs. When you have a thought that you stop questioning, it becomes a belief. Anyway, that day, somebody that worked for her said to somebody else, so we're going to use names. Amy said to Sam, "Did you see Sue wearing a suit today? Like, what's that about?" And she left at lunchtime. I had heard her having this big argument the other day with the CEO. I wonder if she's looking for a new job. And Sam says, yeah, I bet you she's interviewing. That's probably what she's doing. Why else would she be wearing a suit and leaving at lunchtime? She's interviewing. So then Amy gets upset, and then Amy says something to Jody, and then Jody's like, she's leaving? Oh my God, if she is leaving, I'm out of here. I'm creating my resume, and I'm going to send it out. There's no way I'm going to be working for John if she leaves. So this goes on for a week. Sue came back, after 2 hours. It was a late lunch, but she had never mentioned to anybody that she was leaving, and no one ever checked it out with her. So the point of check it out is that if you're feeling something, if you are uncomfortable in some way, don't make stuff up. Don't create a whole story and live it out, in your head. Go to that person and say, hey, I had a thought. I'm having some thoughts about this. I want to check it out with you before I go create meaning over here and go into this belief that's really not true at all. So check it out is the most generative, loving, expansive thing that you can do for yourself, for the other person, and most of all for the relationships, right? So when you're feeling uncomfortable in any way, and the space between you and another is compromised in any way, check it out. Let them know what you're thinking, so that they can clear it up for you, right? I mean, there are so many fights that you have in your own head. And look, we all do it, right? I do it too. There are so many fights. So instead of suffering, instead of torturing yourself with the things that you made up, just go to the other person and say, hey, this is what's happening for me. I started to think this. I started to make this up. I want to check it out with you. Check it out. That is this week's Freedom Phrase. If there's anyone that you know that has these kinds of experiences where they jump to conclusions or where they get in trouble thinking thinking for themselves, please share this freedom phrase with them. Love is the way, get in the way, and I will see you here next time.